Hello, in this video we show how to implement principal component analysis step by step with Python. So principal component analysis, also called PCA, is a method to transform the original data to a new feature space. For example, the original data has D numbered feature. The D may be very large, for example 20 or 30, but such kind of data frame may be too large or get too high computation cost in machine learning. So we try to make the feature columns as short as possible. At the same time, we will get as much variance as possible from the original data. So we try to keep the most information from the original data frame, and with a new data frame have much less columns. So the new data will be a d-dimensional feature space. So here D is is a k-dimensional feature space. So here K is much less than D. And the technique for the PCA is connected with linear algebra. So we will get principal components with their ranking from the highest to the lowest in terms of its corresponding eigenvalue from the covariance matrix from the original data set. Then we will get the several top eigenvectors corresponding to the values of their eigenvalues. Then we take these several eigenvectors and get a matrix. Then we will transform this to the original dataset to get the new dataset. So the steps for the PCA usually may look like this. So first we will standardize the d-dimensional dataset, this original dataset, because this will make all the features have same mean equals 0 and standard deviation 1. Then we will construct a covariance matrix among these features for the original dataset. So this matrix is a square matrix, right? And we will try to get the eigenvectors and eigenvalues from this matrix and sort the eigenvalues by decreasing order to rank the corresponding vectors. So one eigenvalue will have one eigenvector. And for example, we have 10 variables from original datasets, then usually we'll get 10 eigenvalues and have 10 eigenvectors. So we rank these 10 values from the highest to the lowest, because each eigenvalue represents the position which will get the information from the original dataset. So higher eigenvalue and this vector will get higher information from the original dataset. So we rank these values and take several of them, then get several vectors, select k vectors, then k largest eigenvalues, then we will get k eigenvectors. Then we will construct a projection matrix from the top k eigenvectors and transform the original dataset using projection, which is the matrix multiplication. So we get the new data set. So next we will show how to implement PCA in Python. And if you want the source file, you can download this file from this link. And we also have training for Python and R with this website. So next we go to Python Spider chapter 5, this file. And first we will set the working directory and load all the packages. We can skip this part. We will use the data called one data, and from this link, then download from this link with a header none, then using pandas read CSV function. So the result is a data frame if the download is okay. And we set the column name for this dataset, the 13 column. So we show the data, several observations. So class label alcohol, this is variable name, and the number, one row, second row, yeah, like this. So the data has no problem. Next, we will use iLocation to get all the training features from second on all variables to x and the first column to y. Then training data we will further divide, and with 30% of the training data as the test data, then the 70% kept as training. We use the test set train test split function, and with stratify y 0.3 for the test size. So then next we will using standard scalar to transform all training and test data with mean 0 and standard deviation 1. So the training data is okay. Next we will create a covariance matrix using NumPy's COV function for this training data with a transpose. So this covariance matrix, it is a matrix with 13 row, 13 column, quite large. For example, this first row has 13 items, second row 13 items. Covariance matrix between variable pairs. So next we can use linear alg functions eigenvalue to get the eigenvalue and eigenvectors from this covariance matrix. So next we will show all the eigenvalues. So there are 13 eigenvalues, 1, 2, 3, 4, 13. And if we, for example, show the eigenvectors, we show the third eigenvector. It will also has 13 elements. So the result is 13 eigenvalues corresponding to 13 eigenvectors, and each eigenvector has 13 elements. So this is the basic notion. For example, okay, that's done. So next we will show explain the variance. So what is explain the variance? Because all the eigenvalues, if we look from the highest to the lowest value, they represent the portion of variance of the original data set the variance they can explain. So the eigenvectors corresponding to the higher values eigenvalues will explain most part of variance from the original data set. Then next largest eigenvalue has a eigenvector and will explain the largest part of the variance after the first part of the variance has been extracted from the first eigenvector, and so on. So here we sum all the eigenvalues and create a list called variance explain Then we'll use I to total. We'll show how it's going. And this is the cumulative variance explained. Then we will plot these two in the bar and step function. Bar plot and step plot. So this is the eigenvector, eigenvalue. Then this is the variance they explained. So for example, this is the first, second, third, and so on. So you can see first is the largest, second is also the second largest, right? And their variance explained also has this sequence, this rank. And their total variance from original dataset will be 1. Then this is the proportion they can explain from each eigenvalue. So next we will create eigenpair, which actually is one eigenvalue and one eigenvector, but we set all in the list with a second level list. So list inside the list. Then we sort this list vector part in terms of the eigenvalues part. Right. So using the sort function with the key is the lambda function with k, we set to 0 because here 0, the first column is eigenvalue. So we'll sort in terms of the value of eigenvalue. So next we will take two eigenvectors, first two eigenvectors, and we transform them, then create a new axis which is transformed to a matrix. Then we will horizontal stack these two matrices. So the result will be a 13 row 2 columns matrix array. So this is the transform matrix will be used for the transformation for original data. So next we will show, for example, the first observations in the training data, then dot matrix multiplication with this transformation matrix. The result will have 2 elements. So the new data has 2 elements, but the original data for these observations is 13 elements, right? So the data size will be much smaller. Next, we will use this dot multiplication for all the training data. Then we will show the new data along these 2 principal components. So the new data has 2 features. These 2 features are the new data. So we will show scatter plot for all the training data with respect to these new features. And for the 3 classes, we will set different color. So this is the scatter plot for principal components 1 and components 2. So this is also called, this is the new data, right? New data, new features, and these 3 classes points. So you can see along the new feature data, we can also clearly classify this group data. So they are not mixed together. They keep the information from original data set. So next we will use PCA function. Then we will use fit transform for training data. So PC is a ready-made function because earlier in the previous code we step by step, but the PC is a ready-made function. So we can just use PCA fit transform directly. and show the explained variance ratio for these 13 eigenvalues. Also the 13 principal components, there are 13. So we just, in the previous example, we just selected 2, the first 2. You can see here is from the highest to the lowest proportion of the variance they can explain. For example, the first principal component can explain about 37% of the original data's variance, and the second is about 18%, and so on. Because we got this explained ratio for all principal components, then we can show in the bar. It's same as previous code that we step by step learning. So these two get the same results. So next we will just use principal component with 2, because we just only want 2. We can just set components equals 2. So you can use a PCA function with components 2. Then, same as before, we just use fit transform for the training data. So the training data is finished for transformation. Next, we will just use transform to the test data. So both training and test data has been transformed to the PCA. This is new data, new feature. Then we can plot training data, scatter plot the transformed data on the new plots. Same as before, in the previous code we did a step by step. So next we will learn a function called plot decision region, which will show the decision map from the model and from the real observed points. This function will be used later. So next we just do again, because we will train a logistic regression model using the first two principal components. We just do this 3 code again. This is same as before. So we create a logistic regression model using the multi-class 1 over the rest and random state and solver LDFGS. Then this model can train for this PCA data. This is transform the data with 2 features, with 2 principal components. Done. And we will using plot decision region function to show the model's region and the real observed region. So you can see these 3 group points can be trained, fit very well. Only 1 point is being wrong classified. And we also do this for the test data using this trained model. So for the test data, about these 3 several, about 4 points wrong classified. Red stay here and blue stay there. So these 3 regions represent the model's region. So the model, after trained, this model will, for each point, will be classified as with respect to this color, this class. And these points are the real observed points. So for the test data is also has very high accuracy. Even we just use 2 features, 2 components from the original data sets. So we will also show the explained variance. This actually we have done before. So next we will show the loadings for the feature contribution. So what is feature contribution? Because the loading means the contribution from original features to new principal components. And we can use the eigenvectors times square root of eigenvalues. Then this will get a loading matrix. And for example, the first column of this loading matrix means all the features contribution to the first principal component. And we run this show. So you can see for the first principal component, the contribution from each feature in the original dataset will look like this. So these two features will have very big contribution to the first principal component, and so on. Thanks for watching.